There we go. I think that we're good now on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube. Probably weren't able to hear me for the first 10 seconds, but good to go now. Great to see all of us right now, though. So let's hop right to it here, folks. Now we have the Shopify stock on the screen to begin. This was actually a big to begin the pre-market, but given how the day ended up unfolding, obviously this wasn't going to hold as strong. It's tough to swim upstream when the markets are tanking. So this ended up actually making a beautiful pop at first, ran up to 40, ended up making a shake around 40 to where, hey, I just came off a coaching call with one of our students going over this. And we talked about this from class as well just a moment ago, too. The phase one stock course. When a stock breaks through a significant, a major, a big level, we should be expecting a pretty big move shortly after. Now, that sounds very generic. And, maybe if you're not familiar with our strategy, that might seem very elementary. All right. Well, hey, every trade begins with the entry. The last thing I want to do is hold on to a loser when I shouldn't. So if anyone jumped into this Shopify trade as it broke over 40, you had great intent and great use of strategy. But here's the thing. If it's not going to make that big move shortly after you get in, it's going to make a big move, folks. I guarantee it. Just not the direction you're looking for. So this ended up pulling right back down, but then from that point, we ended up having some, Fed news come out right around noontime. That led to a further drop-off within the market. Shopify was already dropping off hard before that point, but, this has been actually a great short across the day, and if the markets break lower, I would imagine for this to move along with it. So, maybe I'll come back to this at the very end. It's actually up 2% still, 2+%. So there might be even some weaker stocks now at this point that are on the loser side. So, tradable stock, Shopify, but, I'll come back to this if we need to. A couple of stocks that we were just doing really well on a moment ago, I want to just jump right back to those. We had a couple of cheapies here. The DBGI, it ended up making a beautiful pop after the market opened up. This actually got halted as it ran up initially. Now, this part, I'll bring up Bookmap because I feel like it's really cool to show. We were talking about it all from the trading room during our audio commentary this morning. But give me a quick sec here. If you're on social media, you could see that. I'm just going to drag this up in full for all of us, though, here. There we go. All right. So, DBGI. Let's get the heat map back on for this guy, too. All right, so I think that you could see what I'm seeing. The stock had a key resistance at 840, a 37+ thousand share order on the ask at 840. He was getting tested once, twice, I think a third time actually at first here, over and over later on. Well, what was so interesting about this trade wasn't just the fact that it popped higher and it broke resistance. That order got pulled. I mean, a good chunk of it did at least. It was getting tested over and over across the morning. But then suddenly, whoever was selling at that price just said, the hell with it. I'm just going to pull my shares. From that point, if there's no clear iceberg resistance preventing it from moving up higher, all we got to do is wait to see it just break that 840, and then we'll go from there. So this actually pulled back to 8 initially. This is actually the better entry at the time, $8 as support. Fausto was calling this out initially. Brian, I know, had jumped in, one of our students inside our live trading room, right from 807. From that point, it broke over 840, and all hell broke loose. This ended up making a really sharp run up right away. Ended up topping off, I think, as high as like 935, 938. And then from that point, unfortunately, it pulled back down. But it was a great trade at the time, really throughout the majority of the early morning session, from $8, from the initial pop, from the break over 840. But you don't want to get stuck holding on to a loser, do you? Because, we've seen this happen before on DBGI, the stock. I mean, just, we're talking about it as well from the morning. I don't know if reverse splits are factored into this, folks, but apparently this is a $900 stock back last year. I feel like reverse splits were factoring that into that. But even aside from just showing that, this stock has had some pump and dump days where it popped and dropped the same day, dropped off lower. The writing was on the wall for this. Don't get caught slipping. So, this stock has had numerous days where it's popped for us, but otherwise, overall trend on the daily chart's down. You have some, long wicks on some of these candles, at least up wicks, and that normally means the stock is dropping off intraday later on, and that's what you're getting right now. So, DBGI, nice trade from the morning, but obviously not looking good here. AVCT, our last one before we actually go from top to bottom. But AVCT, this still looks relatively healthy. It pushed up pretty nicely from the morning. Fausto also called this one out early on. But then from that point, you could see it ended up breaking resistance later on, loosely speaking, off of 109. And then from that point, ran. When I say loosely speaking, well, actually, from class as well, the phase one stock course, we just did some old-fashioned tape reading here. The first of these larger spikes was right off of 109, where that was a potential resistance from an iceberg. And as soon as it broke 109, this thing obviously took off. Well, resistance eventually became support. The highs from previous right around, 110, 111. This just became support later on. And it pushed back up a little bit here, right? So AVCT, I'm definitely not ruling out yet. In fact, I don't mind slipping this on our main list to begin. Very low risk to do so. Obviously, it's like a level 1 stock, if anything. So, don't mind it for right now. Now, with that though, folks, let's just go right from top to bottom. I see a couple of really cheap stocks below $1 on this gainers list. So I'm going to skip over, honestly, all of them. If any of these look good, talk or NAOV, you let me know. I'll tell you what's not looking good. TBLA. TBLA was a big bust from earlier today. 305 was a big pre-market level, but actually I was just talking about this with Dave on our coaching call before. 308 was the opening bell print for this stock after the market opened up. It was like a 460,000 share print that got filled right at the market open at that price. Why is that important? Held it as resistance, and the rest was history. So, hey, if this kept needling this resistance at 308, I would have been interested. But the first test of that price, you definitely expect for that to hold as a top. That's where I say, hey, even though it broke above it here, all right, well, you know what? If it's going to break that level, probably get a pretty big move shortly after. And we definitely did here. A clean false breakout. And from that point, I mean, that was it. So, 60, 70 cents lower. All right, what else we got? Cosm here is a cheapie. Nut X, we're actually familiar with. And this is holding well still. Nice. All right, cool. So Nut X, I just rode in the trading room earlier, and we're kind of just skimming through, not as much out there at the time. And then suddenly this trade popped up on my Benzinga radar. And I said, hey, Nut X has a couple of 50K iceberg orders on the ask at 160 and at 162. I wrote that at 150 Eastern time, by the way, folks, about 50 minutes ago. Well, right now you can see no orders of 50,000 are really here at 160 or 162. So that begs the question, did those orders get pulled? And if they got pulled, did they end up getting moved anywhere else? Let me bring up level 4 one more time. I'll just bring this up here for the Nut X trade. All right, so at least I wasn't crazy. At 160, 162. Not crazy, but those orders got pulled. They did get pulled. 160 a little earlier, 162 a moment ago. Just because they got pulled doesn't mean that they're not resistance still. They are still resistance. Let's make sure this can make a clean break above 162. Maybe, if anything, have that get totally flipped into support before I expect potential continuation on this trade. So I'm still a little wary about that resistance, but it looks great on the chart. So Nut X, I'll put on our main list. What else we got? On the flip side, $73 AXSM. Ended up making a great pop from the morning, actually, but just, I don't know. If you think this is worth it now, you're going to be wasting your time, I think. So let's see what else we have. The AVCT already on our list. That's right. Skip over that now at this point. DBGI, pass on that, like I'd said, and we keep it going. So we're going to try and just filter through the rest of this because it's either too cheap, too expensive, or too little volume. Got to make sure the shoe just fits. KTRA, $4.29 stock, trading 9.2 million, but also from this morning. So, this stock ended up having a nice resistance earlier off of 468, and it failed to just break higher from there. Very similar to the other one, TBLA. So, not looking as good now at this point. PDD, same. At least this is liquid, but obviously very flat for as pricey of a stock. IQ, a lot of these Chinese stocks did pretty well today, but at this point, I feel like they're all flat. IQ, Macau, Casino, MLCO. This doesn't look terrible, at least. It looks like it's trying to eke back up recently here. MLCO, we did really well on from this morning, actually. So I don't mind slipping this back on our list. The IQ, I think, is going to be way too slow for us. This one, there's a little bit more hope to see this make a better pop-up higher before the end of the day, a higher low from this point, perhaps. So MLCO, I don't mind. We got TME from earlier. I forgot about that as well. Looks pretty flat though here. TCOM. Got to keep remembering, folks, it's like basically the day after Thanksgiving. Obviously, markets were half day on Friday, but we're coming off a major U.S. holiday where the markets were closed and people perhaps extending their vacation an extra day. Maybe not as much out there aside from the market drop-off that we're having. So let's hop over to the loser side, see if there's anything looking just as good, if not better. Hey, I see UVXY, UVIX here on the gainer side. So there could be a lot more that's on the losers here. So we'll check in with this. Hi, where's my friend Leda here? Hopefully Leda's here. Oh, she just messaged right from the top there. So Leda's probably laughing at her desk right now with AVXL up on the screen. Leda, I hope that you're doing well and family as well. AVXL, hey, I like with seeing this AVXL at the low of the day, Leda, right? You know that. She's getting a crack right now. So this stock, like back in 2015, basically, I lost like $800+ on one trade on this stock. It was back, I think maybe even it was like 14 at this point, 2014. It was like one of my first trades, trading 1,000 shares. I should not have been trading 1,000 shares. Should have been trading 100 shares at the time. Complete jackass. Lost like over $800 within like, I don't even know, like 5 minutes, 3 minutes. My jaw was to the floor. You learn the hard way sometimes, folks. And ever since that day, I've had a gripe with AVXL, but it's because like on days where it showed great pre-market activity or up movement, it never amounted to anything. This has like been a historical tease of a stock outside of my own bad experience with it. So I'm just kind of, just having a little crack at this right now. The fact it's down over 18%, it's at the lows. This could actually be a great short. And with that, I'll slip it on our list. It'll be on the very bottom later. I'm not as confident on this as I am with the others on the way up, but looks like it could be a good short, though. Maybe I get some revenge trading on this here at the end of the day. All right, let's see what we have here. Otherwise, though, CYH down big. I feel like this is going to be a slow poke, though. Yeah. SI from earlier today dropped off. This thing's been taking a huge hit altogether. Maybe one day where it had a good dead cat bounce. But yeah, for right now, although it's making lower highs, it's just flat. I'm going to pass on this here. And at this point, we'll keep it going. We'll probably run into one or two other names that we could just check out. There's probably more down percentage-wise, folks, but we're at 8, 7%. None of these like really stand out to me. So I'll definitely go through some side list stocks here before we finish up. I see the SOXL ETF, semiconductor ETF, is down big today, but we'll check out the others. AMD, which is within that sector. Obviously NVIDIA, but Intel, Micron, they're all trending down with the market, folks. I mean, if anything, out of all these, AMD might be the best out of the chip sector stocks. But for right now, all of these will kind of just be on the side list. NEO, nothing happening on this whatsoever. Going to pass on NEO for right now. Hey, American Airlines down big today, down over 3.5%. This is at the lows. Wouldn't mind giving this a quick look. Maybe the airlines and cruise lines collectively, right? GM, not much happening there. We'll check out Shopify again, like we said. It's trending back up a little bit. Not really much happening on this really as much. CTKB, but low volume, though. Mark correcting himself there. So, but Mark knows his shorts. Mark calls out some pretty dynamite charts here, at least. And, I mean, granted, low volume. You corrected yourself nicely there, but, nice heads up. Nice heads up, though. It's a beautiful chart. PSNY is a short, says Brian. Wow, I don't know what happened here at 2 o'clock. Something obviously happened where I ended up having a big drop from 715 all the way down to 670 and below. More for speculation, I guess I'll add this to our list. But if you can't short this stock and it keeps dropping, then just find something else. All right, I got one or two for us here. Before we wrap up. We'll start off with BON and BON. Ended up squeezing up earlier, and I don't even know if I wrote it in the chat board, honestly. I just looked at it and probably just quickly moved on elsewhere. It broke a new high earlier, then completely crashed, and then now it's like trying to squeak up a tiny amount. So, chart looks pretty messy to me. I'll actually pass on this. TERN, same thing. Not much happening there. Not much to talk about. BTCY, same thing. I'll tell you, folks, I think that we pretty much touched upon them all. If there's anything else here at the buzzer, let me know. Anything else just before we wrap up right now, type it in the chat board. Just let me know. Remember, it's basically the day after Thanksgiving. It's holiday hangover. I think that we pretty much ran through everything. Mark saying AVXL short. That is what I'm looking for, sir. That is exactly what I'm looking for on that piece of crap stock. No, I'm kidding. I'm teasing with that. But no, I mean, yeah, lower highs and it's shortable. So let's go for it. If we keep seeing trend in this direction, we should expect a bigger drop off before the end of the day. So that's what I'm looking for there. All right, folks, we're going to call it for right now. Hey, for all of us on social media, Facebook Live and YouTube, if you're interested in joining our live trading room, especially for our weekly Traders Talk workshop tomorrow, feel more than free to just go right down to the link on the yellow banner below the stream to get yourself started. Again, that will include our Traders Talk live Q&A workshop scheduled for tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Any questions that you wanted to send over for that workshop as well, hey, be a team player. Feel more than free to send over a quick email beforehand to josh@c2trading.com. Of course, for students like Brian, Lita, Mark, and all of us just there inside the live trading room. You folks already know, but hey, there's my email address for tomorrow as well for all of us inside the live trading room. Any questions that you'd like to ask beforehand, it's a first come, first answer type of basis. So josh@c2trading.com is my email. All right, folks, but aside from that, I will be back on the mic coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern time today. That is right. You heard it. I'm going to be back on the mic later on coming up today. Rich is out. He's on vacation all this week. Well-earned, well-deserved. But with that, I'm back on the horn at 3 o'clock. All right, so I look forward to it. I'll talk to you folks coming up in just a bit.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9. Do it today.